Last night, the baby monitor recorded my 3-year-old son talking in his sleep. He whispered a name. This morning, the police sent a message to the school chat group. That person died at 4:17 a.m. The second night, he named another. A child died. The third night, he named me. If you think this is just another scary story, you are mistaken. Subscribe to this channel right now, because what you are about to witness will crawl under your skin and never leave. Chapter 1. The name hangs in the sterile air of the penthouse apartment. A ghost in the machine. Aliyah. He said her name, his childish lisp twisting it into a death sentence. Aliyah watches the silent recording on the tablet, her own reflection a ghostly mask over the image of her sleeping son. The sound is off, but the memory of the whisper echoes in her skull, a sibilant, chilling sound that does not belong to a child. Teo, her beautiful, pale-skinned boy, now a tiny oracle of death. Her gaze traces the prominent black vein, a dark river under translucent skin that runs up his small arm. She once thought it was a unique mark, a sign of his mixed heritage. Now it looks like a seam, a place where something else was stitched into him. Jaewon stands by the floor-to-ceiling window, a silhouette against the glittering sprawl of a city that bends to his will. He does not look at the tablet. He does not need to see the evidence. He feels its weight in the room. His presence is a physical force, a quiet pressure like a changing gravity. Dressed in a tailored suit of charcoal silk that costs more than a car, he is the embodiment of absolute control. He is a Korean Mafia boss, a man who deals in consequences, not coincidences. His world is one of ordered violence, of predictable cause and effect. This is something else entirely. It's a pattern, he says, his voice a low, calm instrument that cuts through her panic. Patterns are equations. Every equation has a solution. Aliyah's hand instinctively goes to the heavy brass bracelet on her wrist, its ancient, worn symbols of familiar weight against her skin. A nervous habit she could never break. Her long, bright purple braid, a defiant slash of color in the monochrome luxury of their life, snakes over her shoulder. This world of silent servants and whispered threats is not hers. She was a waitress, invisible, until Jaewon saw her. Saw the spiral Yamoya brand on her shoulder blade during a chance encounter and decided it. And she belonged to him. He's a child, Jaewon, she whispers, the words feeling thin and useless. He doesn't know what he's saying. It's a nightmare. The first was arrival, Jaewon states, turning from the window. His intense gaze pins her, dissecting her fear, searching for weakness. The second was the son of a subordinate who failed me. These are not random names, Aliyah. This is a message, delivered through our son. He crosses the room, his movements fluid, predatory. He gently takes the tablet from her trembling hands and sets it on a glass table with a soft click. And now, it has named you. This makes it a threat to my family, to my heir, a threat to my property. The choice is laid bare before her, as cold and hard as the Italian marble floor. Choice 1. Believe her son is a monster, a vessel for something malevolent, and fight it. But how do you fight a shadow in your own child? Choice 2. Believe it is a horrifying fluke, a string of cosmic cruelties, and wait for the dawn. But the entity has named her, and the clock is ticking. Jaewon offers a third path, the illusion of control. We remove the variable, he says, his voice deceptively gentle. We cut the source of the information. We blind the enemy. He means the baby monitor. He means denial. It is the Mafia way. A problem you cannot see, a threat you cannot hear, does not exist until it is pulling the trigger. She wants to scream that a digital eye is not the source, that the problem is inside their son. But his cold logic is a suffocating blanket, and her fear makes her weak, makes her obedient. She walks into Teo's room, a silent, padded sanctuary from the harsh world outside. It is a child's paradise, filled with soft toys and a nightlight that projects gentle, swirling galaxies onto the ceiling. Teo sleeps peacefully, his small chest rising and falling in a steady rhythm. He looks innocent. He looks like her son. With a deep, shuddering breath that feels like a betrayal, Aaliyah reaches down and unplugs the baby monitor. The small green power light blinks out. Silence fills the room, heavy and absolute. For a single fleeting moment, she feels a wave of relief. She has made her choice. She has chosen silence. As she backs out of the room, her phone, left on the nightstand, buzzes against the wood. The screen illuminates the dark room with a pale, blue light. It is a message. A notification from the private chat group for the mothers of the city's elite, a place of curated perfection and passive-aggressive pleasantries. A woman named Minjun has written something. Aaliyah's blood runs cold, a sudden, shocking frost in her veins as she reads the words. Is anyone else's child talking in their sleep tonight? My daughter just whispered a name. She said, Teo, Chapter 2. On the fourth night, I turned off the baby monitor, but the other mothers started texting me. Their children are also talking in their sleep, in the same voice. They are repeating my son's name, though they have never seen him. The silence Aaliyah chose was a lie. She did not contain the threat. She atomized it, spreading it across the city like a plague. Her phone becomes a vessel of terror, a chorus of digital screams from women she barely knows. Message after message floods the screen, a relentless cascade of panic. It's not my son's voice. It's deeper, colder. He keeps saying Teo is the door. My daughter is crying. She says the boy is listening. Jae-won's empire is built on information and control. But this is a virus that spreads through whispers in the dark. An enemy his soldiers cannot shoot and his hackers cannot trace. He brings in his best tech team, 3 silent men in identical gray suits who move through the penthouse like ghosts. They sweep the apartment for bugs, for hidden transmitters, for any signal that could be hijacking the minds of the city's children. They scan the airwaves, the electrical grid, the very walls. They find nothing. The penthouse is a digital fortress, a Faraday cage of wealth and paranoia. The problem is not technological. It is biological. It is supernatural. Jae-won's frustration manifests as a dangerous, predatory stillness. He watches Teo meticulously stacking wooden blocks into a spiral tower, his eyes narrowed, calculating. He is no longer looking at his son. He is assessing a vulnerability in his own bloodline, a security breach in his legacy. Aaliyah feels her sanity fraying at the edges. The spiral tattoo on her shoulder blade seems to burn, a phantom heat against her skin. She looks at her son, this beautiful, terrible child, and sees a stranger looking back through his eyes. The black vein on his arm seems darker today, a twisted path leading from his small hand up towards his heart, a visible corruption. She must know. She must see what is looking out at her. She kneels before him, her purple braid brushing against the plush rug. Teo, she says, her voice a strained whisper. Baby, look at mommy. He looks up from his blocks. His dark eyes are not the eyes of a 4-year-old. They are ancient, empty, and utterly devoid of emotion. Just a chilling, placid observation. He holds up a single crayon, a waxy black nub. On a piece of paper, he draws a shape with a single, unbroken line. It is a fluid, coiling motion that ends in the center. A spiral. He pushes the paper across the floor towards her. It is an exact replica of the Yamoya brand on her shoulder, a symbol of a past she tried to escape, a heritage she tried to bury beneath Jae-won's money and power. For you, mommy, he says. The voice that comes from his small mouth is impossible. It is a low, guttural rasp, dry as autumn leaves, ancient and female. The voice of a dead woman. Aaliyah scrambles backward, a strangled gasp caught in her throat. That is the moment, the viral anchor. The image of a cherubic child channeling a crone's voice, gifting his mother a drawing of her own secret sigil. It is a declaration. I know you. I am inside your blood. I am inside your son. Her failure is absolute. By choosing silence, she gave the entity a voice in every home. She tried to unplug a single speaker, and in doing so, she broadcast the signal to the entire city. Her phone chimes. The sound is different this time. Not the soft buzz of a text, but a harsh, official tone. A push notification. A formal alert, red and urgent, from the Deshin Elite Academy security application. An app that connects all the powerful families. A digital panic button for their privileged world. The message is short, concise, and utterly insane. Security alert. Student Tae-oh Wang has confessed to the murder of classmate Park Min-jun. Aaliyah stares at the screen, her mind a vortex of confusion and terror. Park Min-jun is the son of the first mother who texted her. But that is not the impossible part. The impossible part is that Tae-oh has never set foot in that school. He's not even enrolled. And the alert says the murder will happen in 2 hours. Chapter 3. On the 5th night, the school sent the alert. My son had just confessed to the murder of a classmate through the security app. He has never been to school, but the boy he named would die in 2 hours. The message on Aaliyah's phone is not just text. It is a digital bomb, and the timer is counting down. 2 hours. Jae-won reads the alert over her shoulder, his face an unreadable mask of granite. He does not panic. He processes. The world of elite paranoia he built, the encrypted apps and biometric scanners, is being used as a weapon against him. The entity is not just whispering in the dark anymore. It is screaming into the system. Get me a location on the boy, Park Min-jun. He commands into his watch. Full surveillance. I want eyes on him until the deadline. Aaliyah grabs his arm, her nails digging into the expensive fabric of his suit. You have to save him. We know what's going to happen. We can stop it. A flicker of wild, desperate hope ignites in her chest. This is it. A chance to fight back, to prove this is a curse that can be broken. If they can save this boy, they can save themselves. They can save Tae-oh. Jae-won looks down at her hand on his arm, and his gaze is so cold it burns. Saving him is not the primary objective, he says, his voice dangerously soft. The objective is to understand the enemy's capabilities. We will observe. We will learn how it operates. She recoils as if slapped. Observe? Jae-won, it's a child's life. He turns to face her fully, his intense eyes holding her captive. It is the son of a man I despise. His life is an acceptable loss for the intelligence we will gain. This entity has breached my defenses and is using my heir as a puppet. I will learn how it kills, and then I will kill it. It is the cruel, pragmatic calculus of his world. A world where people are assets or liabilities. Aaliyah realizes with sickening certainty that to him, she and Tae-oh are also assets. And assets can be liquidated. The next 90 minutes are the longest of her life. Jae-won's men report in. They are outside the Park family's residence. The boy is in his room, playing a video game, perfectly safe. The windows are locked. The doors are secure. There is no assassin, no visible threat. The clock ticks. Aaliyah paces the length of the penthouse, her brass bracelet a cold, heavy manacle on her wrist. Her purple braid feels like a chain pulling her head down. She's trapped in a nightmare directed by a monster wearing her son's skin, and her only ally is a man with a heart of ice. With 10 seconds left on the clock, the lead agent's voice crackles through the speakerphone on the coffee table. Sir, the target is alive. He's laughing. There is no threat. Aaliyah holds her breath. Maybe it was a bluff. Maybe the entity's power has limits. 3, 2, 1. The agent's voice returns, but now it is tight with confusion and horror. Wait, he stopped. He's clutching his chest. He's falling. A pause, filled with the sound of muffled shouting in the background. He's not breathing. Sir, I think he just had a heart attack. A child. He just died. Aliyah collapses onto the sofa, a silent scream trapped in her lungs. It was not a murder. It was an act of God. The entity does not need assassins or weapons. It rewrites reality. It reaches into a child's chest from miles away and simply tells his heart to stop. They are not fighting a killer. They are fighting a god, and she is its mother. She looks at Jae-won. For the first time, she sees a crack in his perfect control, a flicker of something that might be fear. He has built an empire to protect himself from men, but he has no defense against this. His power is meaningless. He turns and walks toward Taeho's room. Aliyah scrambles to her feet. "What are you doing?" she cries, following him. "We can't go in there." He does not answer. He pushes the door open. The room is dark, save for the swirling galaxies projected on the ceiling. The baby monitor, which Aliyah had plugged back in out of a desperate need to see, to hear, sits on the dresser, its green light a baleful eye. And in the center of the room, Taeho is standing in his crib. His small body is rigid. He is not looking at them. He is staring directly into the lens of the camera. Chapter 4. On the sixth night, he stood up in his bed. The baby monitor showed him looking right at the camera. And he said, "You let me in, Mama." Then he added, "I am not your son." As the words spoken in that same dry, ancient woman's voice hiss from the monitor's speaker, Aliyah's phone lights up. Then Jae-won's news alerts. A power grid failure in Eastern Europe has plunged 5 countries into darkness. A passenger jet over the Pacific has vanished from radar without a distress call. A wave of mass hysteria is sweeping through major cities as thousands report having the exact same nightmare. The entity is growing stronger, feeding on the fear it creates, and its tendrils are wrapping around the globe. "You let me in, Mama." The words are a key, unlocking a memory Aliyah had buried. A rare night of weakness weeks ago. Jae-won was out, his business a constant, violent shadow in their lives. A rival had been dealt with, and the blowback was palpable. Aliyah was alone, terrified, clutching Taeho in the vast, empty penthouse. She had sunk to her knees, her body racked with desperate, silent sobs. She had prayed, not to any god she knew, but to the darkness itself, to her ancestors, to the spirit her grandmother spoke of, Yumoya, whose symbol was branded on her skin. She had begged for a protector, for a power strong enough to shield her son in this world of men and guns. She had opened her heart and screamed into the void, "I'll do anything. I'll give anything. Just keep him safe." She had felt a sudden cold, a presence in the room, and had dismissed it as grief. She had not been grieving. She had been performing an invocation. The memory slams into her with the force of a physical blow. She sees it now. The moment of intimacy with Jae-won later that night was not a moment of connection. It was the sealing of the pact. Her raw, desperate desire had opened the door, and their physical union had invited the entity to cross the threshold, to root itself in their bloodline. She looks at Jae-won, whose face is a pale, taut mask of disbelief as he stares at the monitor. He thinks this is an attack from the outside. He does not understand. This was an inside job. She was the one who turned the key. Her mind clears. The fear is still there, a cold stone in her stomach, but now it has a shape, a purpose. Her entire struggle has been based on a false premise, saving her son. But her son is a shell, a vessel. The fight is not a rescue mission. It is an exorcism. Her new resolve is a blade of ice in her soul. She turns away from the monitor and walks toward the bedroom door. Jae-won grabs her arm. "Where are you going?" The security team is on its way. She looks at him, and for the first time, he is the one who looks weak, out of his depth. "Your men can't fight a god, Jae-won," she says, her voice steady. "But a mother can disown her child." She pulls her arm free and walks into Taeho's room. The entity turned from the camera to face her. The 4-year-old body stands in the crib, but the eyes are black pits of ancient malice. It smiles. As she approaches the crib, her eyes fall on the tablet lying on the changing table. The screen is on. It is playing a video of her and Jaewon from that night. The night she made her plea, but the camera angle is impossible. It is from high in the corner of their bedroom ceiling, looking down on them like a spider, a place where no camera exists. A sound from the doorway makes her turn. The real Tao, the thing wearing his body, is standing there, no longer in the crib. He's bathed in the eerie light from the hallway, and on his face is the same cold, observant, knowing smile she sees on the entity in the video. He takes a small step into the room. "Now you know?" he whispers in that dead woman's voice. And now we can truly begin. The bedroom door clicks shut behind him, plunging the room into near total darkness, trapping them together. Is she locked in there with it? Or is it locked in there with her? If you have to know what happens next, destroy that like button and tell me in the comments what you would do. Share this with everyone you know, because the seventh night is coming, and this story is far from over.